to you today from the Southern Legend Outdoor Studio, the Be a Legend podcast, brought to you from SouthernLegendOutdoors.com. And now your hosts, Kevin Bearfield, Carrie Nelson, Ken Butler, and Mark Newell. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend.
You know, we go through a lot of trouble. A lot of crazy things we do, you know, people wouldn't think about. You know, getting out in the middle of the night when the ice is thick, you know, having to put out a puddle buster. You know, to do that, you got to have a puddle buster or an ice buster. First of all, you got to have a generator, you know, to run the puddle buster. So then you got to have a cord long enough to do that. And then, so if you hadn't got it where you can put the generator on the bank, one spot we had last year was water as far as you could see around the blind almost. It was really a flooded spot. And so we had to drag in the generator and the puddle buster and the jet sled. Had to take the jet sled, tie it, brush it over, tie it to a tree so it wouldn't float off. And then we had to put the puddle buster out in the middle of the hole. We did all this at like 11 o'clock at night, you know, freezing after working all day.
It was like midnight.
Yeah, it was maybe midnight, you know.
It was late.
And so, you know, getting back to bed, you know, then you got to get up the next morning and hit it. Hope the ducks come in, you know. But most of the time it's worth it, because if you can get a hole open for those ducks when everything else is locked up, for the ducks, you know, a lot of your ducks will go to the big water then, you know, they'll go to the big lakes or go to the river. But for the ones that don't, if you can open up a hole and keep it open for a few days, you know, you can get some ducks. And so, you know, we had a really good shoot, you know, had a decent shoot. You know, we did it 3 or 4 different times. We had to do that. You know, one time we opened it up, had a great shoot, you know, and the next time we did it, didn't hardly shoot any at all. You know, you just never know what's going to take place. But it's just a lot of trouble, you know, that you go through. You know, I remember, you know, one time before you'd ever even got in it, really before you ever got to camp with us the first year, but it was in the Delta. Me and my father-in-law, I went and rented a pump. We wasn't getting any rain, and it wasn't a hole that we had. It didn't have water in it, but it was going to be a pretty good hole, we thought. So I go and rent this pump, and so I can pump water out of the canal and pump it over into my big idea was I could pump water out of the canal, pump it over into the hole. And so we get it over there and start pumping. Realize we ain't gonna have near a big enough pump to do it with. So,
that smells like disaster.
And it ended up being a disaster. That's the time that I was going back and forth getting some stuff, and anyway I went and got something, got halfway back, and we're like probably a mile from the truck on the back side of a field over in the Delta, with a pump, with gas, with everything you can think of, and lo and behold, I tear the whole front differential out of my side-by-side and had to leave it halfway between where we were at and where my truck was at. Man. Completely stuck. So we have we got the pump and everything else in the hole still pumping. I walk back, and like I said, I'm definitely not a marathon runner by no means. I might be a marathon eater, but I'm not a marathon runner. And now I can eat with the best of them.
T-Bone ain't got nothing on Possum.
That's right. I get out.
The little Debbies.
But anyway, so I walk back after I finally get back of almost having 3 heart attacks. You know, walking with all that mud on my feet. You know, it's going to add about 40 pounds to you. I finally get back. It's after dark. I don't know what my father-in-law was thinking. I don't know if he was hoping something had got me or afraid something had got me. You never know about about a father-in-law.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, he was still over there by himself, no flashlight. I get back, so we decide, well, we done broke the side by side, everything else messed up. We might well just sit here and let it pump the water. So we sit there to probably freaking midnight now, and we're like down below Parchman. This hole was like way down below Parchman. You can see the back side of Parchman from this duck hole. So that's how far we are from North Mississippi and from Ripley. And so we sit there to midnight, cold, no flashlight.
Oh, man.
We let the water pump up, or try to let it pump up. We finally just fill it up with gas and decide to walk out and let the pump run out of fuel, So then we have to walk out that night, without anything.
Golly, man.
Leave my side-by-side now, in plain sight, down in the Delta. Drive back home, get back home late that night. Go back the next morning, hook up to I had a small Kubota tractor. Well, the big idea I had was go down there and pull it out. So, well, we take the tractor back to the Delta. And we finally take the tractor with a bucket until we have to, because I got to get this pump back. This pump is rented. You know how that goes. The longer you keep it, the more you're going to pay.
Right.
So I go down there and we finally get the pump loaded. Almost get the tractor stuck because this gumbo mud will compact around your wheels like concrete, you know. And so 5 or 6 times I have to take a shovel and dig the mud out from under my tractor fenders.
Yeah.
And just to get to the pump and get it hauled out. Get it hauled out, I hooked my tractor to my side-by-side thinking I'm going to pull it out. No. Had to leave it. I ended up having to leave my side-by-side for 2 weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
Before it would ever dry up enough for us to pull that side-by-side out. And so that's the kind of stuff that we go through duck hunting. You know?
Why?
I guess because we're idiots, I guess. I don't know. But... And we can always we got some great deer hunting land in where we live,
Yeah, we do.
And, we could be in a nice warm deer stand, with our heaters on and, having a relaxing, but it's nowhere near as fun as,
it's not as fun.
as all the trouble you go through and, getting a laugh at one another, which usually I'm the one getting laughed at, because that same day I got stuck in the hole again with them same boots on.
As he was in today.
And I got my feet hung in the hole again. And my father-in-law was just me and my father-in-law. My father-in-law, he's like 58 then probably. He's a smaller guy. My father-in-law is real strong for his age, but I'm 6'2". I'm 300 pounds. My father-in-law is probably 5'6", 7", maybe 160, and so no way he's going to pull me out of a hole, And so it was either, at one time I was thinking he was going to have to leave me there, I was going to be there. And so finally, what we had to do was take a board. He found a 2x4. We had a long 2x4. And he runs a 2x4 out in the hole, and I had to come out of my boot, and so I had to one leg it up that 2x4 to get out of the hole, and he has to go back in the hole and drag my boot out of the hole. And so that's the kind of stuff that I go through to duck hunt, and to get laughed at on top of it, And so if I'd have been by myself, I guess I'd still be in the hole today.
You'd still be stuck. All the people at Parchment would have got him.
If I'd have been in that hole today by myself, I'd still be there.
The spoonies would have got him.
That ought to come out in my sock feet, I guess.
No, because then you'd have sunk down to your knees.
It's unreal. I can't describe it. I know we're laughing and kidding around, but all that stuff has happened.
Oh, it's real.
It's real.
It's real. There's no doubt about that.
I get down in the Tailwater Reservoir one day. We were slaughtering ducks. We killed a 6-man limit, and I decided I hate for them to have to keep going. That's before we had a dog. I got a dog now. Thank God I got a dog. Her name's Annie, and I wouldn't take nothing for her. She's a top-notch dog, but before then we were the dogs, and I was a pup and they were the dogs.
Zack
I
was
guess
the dog.
Zack was the dog, and but we was killing so many ducks, I felt sorry for him, so I was gonna go out and try it. That was the first mistake.
Man down.
Second mistake.
Man down.
When I get out in there, that was it. And I had my waiter. I had a pair of waders on. Had a loose boot on them, and man down. Down I go to my knees, on my knees, and I look up, and my father-in-law and my brother-in-law was laughing so hard they won't even help me. I had to get a friend to help. I had to be pulled. I had to get limbs for me to get a hold of limbs and virtually drag me out of the hole. So, I've had some rough times, but
that's where I gave him his nickname, the Walrus.
What about the timber hole we hit year before last? Me, you, and Nathan.
Oh my God!
You went underwater on that one too, man.
No,
Nathan
went
underwater.
Oh, was that Nathan went underwater?
That was. See, it's funny when everybody else does it. That's what's a lot funny. But Nathan went underwater.
Nathan went underwater that day.
I was going to get him to adjust a jerk string.
Oh yeah.
And the thing about this timber hole, it can be ankle deep for 100 yards and then go to your head in matter of next step. I mean, it's got beaver runs all in it, and we didn't see the beaver run. He didn't see the beaver run. I told him he was going to adjust the jerk string, and I had turned around talking to Kevin, and I believe Kevin had killed his first mallard that day. I believe that's right. He came over his head, came over smooth right into the hole. Everything was going good. Everything looks good. And that's when you need to be careful, because when everything looks good, it's fixing to go bad. And so I'm looking around, and next thing I know, I hear somebody go, "Ooh!"
Yeah, you hear that sound. It's not good.
Yeah. And I look, and Nathan's out in the middle of the hole swimming. He was ankle deep one minute, and he was head deep the next minute.
He was deep in the water.
And me, I couldn't even help him. All I could do was laugh. I was bent over, completely bent over laughing. And Kevin didn't know Nathan that good, and he didn't know where to laugh or not laugh.
Yeah, I know. I didn't.
And so I was laughing.
He's a pretty serious guy, so you didn't know.
You didn't know, but I couldn't. I was crying, laughing, and he completely soaked.
Man.
He had water completely, felt like all the way up to his chest almost. And so, but
man.
to his credit, he hunted for a little while longer before he got out, and it was probably, 25 degrees if it was a degree.
He killed mallard that day too.
Yeah, he did, and killed a dove. He finally succumbed to the cold, but he even kept trying to hunt in soaking wet waders. That's just how it is. You fall, you get stuck, you tear up stuff. You cost you thousands of dollars. All these things, all the equipment that it cost you, all the decoys, your waders, everything that it boils down to, and and it's worth every penny, because it's worth every penny if you just get to see that mallard cup, and come in that hole and land in your face. It's just nothing like that.
Nothing like it.
To see a group of ducks work, and watch them come around and circle a few times and lock up, and knowing they're getting ready to come in the hole, or the sound of the morning time when you're in the delta and you're, before the sun comes up, and maybe you got a little fog and you hear those ducks come over, and you hear the wings,
the snow geese,
and you hear the snows when they wake up in the morning, and you hear the snow geese when they flying over, and just hear that sound of the delta. There's nothing like it. It's almost like a piece of heaven on earth to me. It's part of God's creation. To me, it solidifies and shows how that there's a God, because nobody could create anything that beautiful but God. And those creatures and the atmosphere that you're in, and that beautiful sunrise. To see the sunrise in the delta and to see the sunset in the delta, it's nothing like it. People can go to the mountains and get the views that they want, but I'd rather have that delta view in the morning with thousands of snow geese flying over my head and watching those mallards cup and come into the hole any day of the week. So,
it reminds you, if you've ever been out west, I was sharing with somebody the other day, we were talking about, I said, the most beautiful sunrise anywhere in the South is in the Mississippi Delta.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds you, if you've ever been out west, if you've ever been out to Montana, Big Sky Country, we call it, and that will give you that reminder down here. Like you said, the beauty and that sound, man. Of course, we're out there, well before daylight.
Right.
And that sound, man, when they're
When
coming
that
over,
first
when they're
group
just
ever
coming
comes
over in
over,
droves, man, it's just, oh, man. And, my introduction to duck hunting was a trip that I took with work that was somewhat work-related with a salesman who was a friend of mine, and we went to Ducks and Dogs in Arkansas, and they're an outstanding outfitter. It's amazing if you ever get the opportunity to go. Randy and Cindy Papa run that operation over there, and they just do a tremendous job. And you go in, they cook your breakfast, they take you out, you have a guide, the guide has a dog, all you have to do is put your waders on, they pretty much drive you up to the blind. And so that was kind of my initial impression or idea of duck hunting. And then now seeing it full circle of all the work that goes in behind it, because unfortunately most of us can't
Look at
do.
that big old buck. Oh my
God. Oh, my
That
God.
was a giant.
Oh, man, that was a monster.
Jesus.
Man.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing will interrupt a podcast like a monster
No.
buck on the side of the road.
Dude, that thing was
Oh, my
massive.
God.
Was.
That was a 140-inch deer plus.
On public land at that.
Yeah, this is we're driving between Oxford and New Albany and Holly Springs.
Man, I wish I could go
That was
man.
we're right
Probably could turn
smack
around.
dab
Pretty good.
in the Holly Springs National Forest.
If I didn't have his trailer on my truck, I would have turned around and went back and seen that deer again.
That was a huge buck.
That was a monster buck. Yeah.
That was a monster. That thing looked like it had some funk on him too.
He looked like he was at least
Wow.
10 point. He had 4 good, big, tall tines on his side. Looked like.
Yes, he did.
Huge, big, tall horns.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Oh man, that threw me off.
He was massive, man. That was a giant.
I mean, it's out of the blue. I mean, it's like something you see on a wall. I mean, it was big deer, big deer.
Yeah, no, I think I was just saying,
The work that goes behind it.
Yeah, the work that goes behind it, and for some reason, there's just more reward when you have a great hunt after you've worked so hard for it.
Well, it's as they say, the risk versus reward type factor. It's not really a risk of your life or anything, but it's just, the work versus reward. You put in hard work. It's just like when you work hard and you receive a good day's pay. It's kind of like the same with duck hunting. You put in a good day's work and receive a great duck hunt. It's just nothing like it. And and you don't kill ducks every time you go. And nobody does that good. Nobody ever does. I mean, you're not gonna hardly limit out every time you go hunting unless you just got a phenomenal crazy spot that you've had forever. But most people still don't do that. I mean, you're not always going to limit out, but one thing that you will do is always limit out on a good time.
That's true.
You'll always limit out on having fun at the duck camp. Getting to talk to your friends and your family and experiences that you can never take back. That's the limit out that I like better than even limiting out on the ducks.
I agree.
I have sat in a hole to 12 o'clock and not killed but a few ducks, but have a great time talking. In the fellowship. That's what it's all about to me. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with killing a good limit of greenheads either, but
no, it's the friendships that we make and the moments that we share together, sharing stories, sharing experiences, and we talk a lot about the good times, and sometimes we talk about the bad.
That's right.
And I think it's a place, it's a refuge for us to be able to get away, and hopefully, as friends, we're able to help each other get through some hard times at the duck camp. But I know I treasure the friendships I've made with you guys over the last couple of years, and I look forward to many, many more.
Oh man, I do too. It's just, it's nothing that I would trade anything for. I'm glad that we get to be to hunt together. And thank you for allowing us to even be on your podcast. But I just, if you need to, if nothing else, I can hillbilly up your podcast anytime you need to.
Well,
Famous Possum.
We're gonna do these throughout the whole season. So we hope our listeners have enjoyed this evening with us, and we're getting close to home, and it's been a fun day. It's been an interesting day. It's been a long day. It's been a hard day.
Yeah.
It's been a day, but anyway, we'll resume next week. We're planning to come back down Wednesday and
To play in the Play-Doh.
play in the Play-Doh some more. So hopefully we'll put a podcast together again next week, and look forward to hanging out with you guys next week on our next podcast. Good night.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend.